Hey guys, Eric Anoho's here, real estate agent with Navy to Navy Homes, and today we're going to talk about something that you might have just received in the mail. It's your 2019 real estate tax notice. Now, we're going to break down what it is, what it isn't, and just maybe some fun facts you can learn about your tax bill here that's on this piece of paper. So stay tuned. I'm going to break it down and hopefully put some minds at ease. Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about the 2019 real estate tax notice. You might have just gotten it in the mail and you're like, what is this document all about? You may have seen that and you're like, well, I thought my real estate agent told me that all the taxes were taken care of. I thought I didn't have to worry about it. I thought it was already part of my mortgage. What's happening? So the city goes and puts out these tax notices, and it serves really a lot of purposes, but I'm just going to break down what it is, what it isn't, and maybe some cool things you may want to know about. Okay, so as we're looking at here, this tax notice, I'm going to start looking at it like, okay, it looks like I owe this much, but it's saying that do not pay its informational notice only. Okay, so that's big information right there, right? This is only informational. So what happens is that the taxes are paid in arrears. So your taxes are technically due by March 31st of the following year of, like, for 2019, they're actually due March 31st of 2020. After that, it goes delinquent. But the city goes ahead and gives you a discount. So for 4% credit starting in November, and then it's 3% in December. What's that? 2% in January, 1% in February, and then there's no incentive to pay it in March because it's due in March. So it kind of works backwards that way. So your lender's going to pay it in November. Yeah, they're going to get that 4% discount. So that's kind of what that's looking like. Big thing you guys want to make sure is that you got your exemption. So if you bought a house in 2019 and the home was not homesteaded, then you're not going to get an exempt value because your homestead exemption is going to be for the following year. So let me break that down a little bit more. So let's say you bought a house this year in 2019 and your home was not homesteaded for 2019. Then unfortunately you're not going to get that exempt value. So make sure, hopefully this video serves as a reminder to go ahead and file for your homestead exemption. Why? Because here, breaking down the assessed value minus your exemption goes into your taxable value. So let's say you bought a house this year for $200,000, and then when the guys came out here to do the tax evaluation, they're going to say, well, this house is assessed at, say $180,000. So from there, they're going to, if you did your homestead exemption, then 180 minus the $50,000, then it goes to $130. So $130 or $130,000 is what you're going to get taxed on. That's a huge savings right there. So, but if you didn't buy a house that was homesteaded, then don't worry about it. You can get the homestead exemption for 2020. So you just make sure you file that by March 1st of 2020. That's the deadline for filing homestead. Another cool thing about homestead exemption is that you got to make sure that you bought the house in that calendar year. So before January 1st of the year you're filing in. So if you're going to buy a home, you may want to try to close by December 31st. Okay, so that's one thing to look at here. Also talk to your lender. Be like, hey, what if you bought a brand new construction home? And a lot of times the taxes are going to be overinflated because you can only guess on unimproved property, and then once you put the house on it, you're going to have improved property, and then so the tax values are going to kind of fluctuate. So for instance, we know some buyers that bought homes this year in 2019, and the taxes that they guessed were like, let's just say $3,000. Maybe that wasn't what it really came out to be. Maybe it's a little bit more, or maybe it's a little less. Who knows? So if it's more, if you paid more this year, then you should expect an escrow refund back. So just talk to your lender about that specifically, whoever's servicing your loan. Say, hey, have I been overpaying? What does that look like? For us personally, last year, we ended up having to pay a little bit more because they didn't do the escrow correctly, and so they added a little bit more to the mortgage payment. And that can happen, so don't be surprised. So want to make sure we talked about that. Homestead exemption, see if it's on here. We did have another family that we talked to recently, just in the last week or so, that they looked at their tax bill and then they realized that they hadn't gotten the homestead exemption. Now, they said they filed it online. So if you did file it online, make sure you look at, you have a receipt. That way you can prove it back to the city, like, hey, I did file for homestead exemption. Why is it not here? I have my receipt confirmation number. That way they can apply that $50,000 savings to your assessed value. That way you're not overpaying on your taxes. Okay, so just to recap, you might have gotten a notice here that said 2019 real estate tax notice. It's not a bill unless, and here's the unless here, if you own the house outright. If you don't have a mortgage and you're paying, your house is paid off, then you will be responsible for your taxes. So go ahead and make sure you pay them in November, so that way you can enjoy that 4% savings. Because if you wait till March 31st when they're due, you're unfortunately not going to get that incentive reduction of 4% that you can do in November, 3% December, 2% January, 1% in February. But yeah, hopefully that's useful. It is not a bill. It is informational. Make sure you check to see if your homestead exemption was applied. If you bought the house like in 2018, then 2019 should reflect that. If you bought a house in 2019 and it was not homesteaded, then you're just gonna have to make sure you file it for 2020. If you did buy a home that was homesteaded, then make sure that that homestead is still passed on to you. But yeah, those are the big points right there. So hey, if you guys have any questions specifically about your tax bill, talk to your lender or to the person that's servicing your loan, and that way they can break it down. But really, this is just one of those things that's good information to have. I just wanted to break that down to you. No time to get all like, oh my goodness, what's happening, you know? But yeah, happy to answer any questions. I'm gonna just point you probably in the direction of the lender, but hey, I'm gonna do my best and provide some value for you guys. All right, guys, have a great day. Talk to you soon. Bye.